one-turn meal recipes with Xnick. Welcome dear YouTube viewers, thank you for joining me. I hope the time of the year finds you well and please enjoy the show. I appreciate all your comments along all the videos. Thank you. We are here on our third and final episode of the one-turn meal decks that tries to meal the opponent in a single turn. Of course we need to set up some cards, but that's part of the gist. And well, I want to just mention that you can probably use all this deck, of course, if you like to, but I myself don't find them particularly amusing to use against human players. That's why I'm showing the games against the AI. Against human players it feels like you are pretty much doing nothing until you find the pieces. That's not the most exciting way to go with Magic the Gathering. And well, you are going to notice that today's deck probably are way stronger than the ones that I've shown you before. The key here is to have a strong deck that can stand while you find the pieces of your combo. And also all these decks are going to have a lot of tutoring cards, because that way we speed up the process and don't risk the danger of self-milling. Well, and there's of course probably many more ways to go about doing this with many other deck ideas, but I think that I'm done for the time being, and thank you for your patience. I had these games recorded from a long time ago, but I couldn't find the time to assemble this video composition, and I lost my first edition. I had to make all this from the scratch again for the third time, which is a pity, but soon we are going to be having more videos on more interesting games, other series that are going on. You can check it in the channel with Lost Tribes and some wacky decks. So let's move into the recipes already and check this out. This is the Harvester recipe, the Lasagna Harvester. What is this about? The top Harvester is able to exile the topmost card from the opponent whenever we play a colorless spell. So the idea is quite simple. We just need to trigger that effect 60 times by playing colorless spells. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, this deck runs pretty similar to the Jace recipe we saw some time ago. We are going to assemble lots of artifact creatures and effects that allows us to play limitless number of cards in the same turn. The key for doing that is going to be the combination of the Foundry Inspector and the Scrap Troller, which together are going to give us a discount when we play our artifacts, and we recover them from the graveyard if we sacrifice them. To sacrifice the artifacts, we are going to be using the Metalwork Colossus, 2 copies of them, because that's the way to go in this deck, which happens to be mono blue, which makes one of the most, probably this is more consistent of all the recipes deck. This deck turns out to be quite strong as it stands. Of course, no really requirements to do the one-turn meal, but that's the idea of the deck. But anyways, it stands alone with a high chance. So we are carrying lots of tutoring effects besides drawing effects to find our pieces quite fast here. I think the deck is quite strong. Probably you could play this against many opponents. If they don't have the artifact removal, then they are done for. So here we see how this operates. We play our Colossus, which costs us 0 mana, thanks to all the artifacts that we have in play. Then we can use the Colossus that is already in the graveyard to sacrifice 2 more artifacts. They return to our hand the scrap trawler triggers, which lets us return 2 more artifacts to our hand, which has to cost less mana, but it really doesn't matter here. And we keep going. So one important aspect here is that we first have to have one of our Colossus in the graveyard in the first place, and we can do that with the Smuggler's Copter, for instance, or some other discarding effects. And there we go. We start doing this, and this whole process can be made quite faster, up to 3 times faster, if you play multiple copies of the Harvester, so you get additional triggers whenever you play a card. But in this game I recorded with just one. It takes a long time to do all the steps, but I had a game where I had more of those, more copies of the card and play, but I did some mistakes and did not sacrifice the right artifacts, and it was a mess, and I got pretty pissed off and started, well, this is the end. It works anyways, but it takes much longer and you get tired, and there are so many recipes that here I decided to leave it as it is. Okay, sue me if you don't like it. Also, if you notice the Walking Ballista, we can play it by paying no mana. It goes straight to the graveyard, but it doesn't really matter here because we have 2 copies of the scrap trawler, and then we can always recover the Walking Ballista back to our hand. And also we're running this nice enchantment, the mechanized production, which could allow us to make copies preferably of the Foundry Inspector, which has an interesting downside of here, because if we get 8 copies of something, we win the game, but we don't want to win the game, we want to mill the opponent, so we have to be a bit careful with that and hurry up. So finally, this is the Rossio. Now we're going to be looking at this Roasted Wispweaver recipe, which is probably the simplest of all the recipes, which makes it very strong. We just need 4 cards here. We're running a blue, green, white deck, and the idea here is to use the Sphinx tutelage to mill the opponent, combined with the elemental bond that we have already seen formerly in another video. But so as you know, we need to draw cards to make the Sphinx mill the opponent, and the elemental bond lets us draw a card when we play when a strong creature enters the battlefield. We don't need to play it. So the idea here is to drop the Wispweaver Angel into the battlefield, followed up with another Wispweaver Angel. Between them two, they start exiling themselves, and then we can repeat the process. They get exiled and enter the battlefield over and over until we mill the opponent, which makes this idea quite simple and strong. Of course, the mana requirement is a bit high, but since we are packing white, blue and green, there shouldn't be really a problem in acquiring the required mana. And also we can substitute one of the Wispweaver Angels with the Altered Ego card, which makes a copy of a target creature when it enters the battlefield, which makes the deck really strong. Even if you are not doing the milling here, you are going to end up with the strongest creature in the board using the Altered Ego. And well, this deck probably, I don't know if it's fun to use against some human opponent, but if it weren't by the time limit on the game, this could be very nasty to see play. One of the things that make this deck so strong is that you can hold the enchantments in your hand, so they are safe from Reclamation Sages and so on. And the downside of the Sphinx plus the Elemental Bond combination together is that, as we saw in another game there was a risk of self-milling if you draw too many cards, but here the Wisp-Weaver Angels ask you if you want to activate the effect, or you can target a different creature to stop the effects from happening, so you have control on when you want the milling to stop. That's pretty awesome. And if you are using the Altered Ego, you can target a different thing, so you don't have to worry about milling yourself. And the deck also can use lots of tutoring cards and effects to find the pieces pretty fast, so I think I like it very much. Minister Rolls, our final recipe, probably my favorite deck, which is built around the Minister of Increase. When Minister of Increase enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters, and we can tap and pay 1 energy to make the target player put top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So here our plan is going to activate the Minister of Increase. How many times? 20 times. We need to make the guy able to mill 60 cards. How are we going to do this? Well, there are many ways that we could go here, and I leave you as a challenge to figure out a way to untap Minister of Increase 20 times and mill the opponent by doing so. But here in this deck the idea is different. We're going to clone the Minister of Increase using the Flames Shadow Conjuring to have many copies of the guy, which also help us getting the energy. To make the copying process faster, we are also going to run the Anointed Procession card, which makes additional copies. So basically the deck has to find the Shadow Flame Conjuring and the Anointed Procession and the Minister of Increase, and we win. Of course we need the mana to do that, and of course we have to survive while finding our cards, so we are packing lots of Planeswalkers to help us, and clues and Tamiyo's Journal for tutoring our cards. And that's pretty much the whole idea of the deck, and it's very flashy, this deck, once the setup is ready. Of course the Anointed Procession decks, all of them are going to look so flashy, too bad the game actually is not well, it doesn't support having too many cards on the board. It gets too cluttered, the space is not properly handled here. I've tried this same combination of cards in other ideas against the AI. One of the reasons these I'm showing the games against the AI is that fact. Once you start getting so many cards out there that the mess is considerable. We're going to be seeing that one here. Let me explain here the combo. We are having also the Wisp-Weaver Angel to help us flickering our Ministers of Increase, that allows us to have them on board from earlier turns, and we use some flicker spells here. The Essence Flux is going to bounce the Wisp-Weaver Angel. We can target also the Minister directly, but here by doing it this way we get to flicker the Minister and the Wisp-Weaver Angel, and we can make copies of the Wisp-Weaver Angel with this Flame Shadow Conjuring. That's the main goal. All those tokens are going to be gone at the end of our turn, which is a pity, but is not going to stop us from milling our opponent. And with 2 Flame Shadow Conjurings and 2 Anointed Processions, we get up to 7 tokens with the original creature. So we have 8 of so sweet. And we get to copy the Wisp-Weaver Angel and repeat the process. As long as we can pay the mana, we're going to keep generating more and more cards. Well, tokens actually, and this could never end really. I've done this. Someday I'm going to show you that we could be targeting a mana generating creature instead and get, in principle, infinite mana. Infinite mana is so sweet, but really in this game you don't get to have infinite mana, because as you see, the screen doesn't let you quite easily target the right cards. There's too much going on. Good heavens that we don't have 4 anointed processions available, because otherwise, can you imagine 4 anointed processions in play, 4 flame shadow conjurings in play, and all the tokens that would be yeah. Well, here one interesting thing here, just to let you know, is that where the flame shadow conjuring tokens are going to be entering the battlefield all at the same time, and the game does not let us choose how to resolve the order. Therefore, we cannot exile the same card multiple times, because when the first exile resolves, then all the other exile and re-enter are going to flicker, which means it means that you require different cards to be targeted by the Wisweaver Angel tokens. Otherwise you miss the effect. But if you're getting infinite Wisweaver Angels, then there's really not a big issue. But here, once we have 20 or more Minister of Increase, we are set to start milling, and that's it. That's the idea. But as a byproduct here, we are ending up with a copious amount of clues and lots of energy counters, and of course we could one-shot the opponent with an army of angels tokens with haste. That's the nice aspect of Flame Shadow Conjuring, giving the haste to our creatures. And well, there are many ways to exploit the idea. I'm regretting a bit giving you this idea, guys. I don't want to face a deck like this. I don't know. It might be fun, but probably you just sit there looking how the opponent does things and then watch the amazing game. So we're also noteworthy carrying Nahiri, which can tutor one of the creatures from the deck, which also bypasses the mana requirements, which is pretty handy here. So I hope you have enjoyed this series of recipes, and this is the final one. Of course, probably I'm missing interesting decks, but please let me know if you have another idea that we can use. But we're going to move on and focus on other ideas for the time being. Until next time, sayonara.